starting my working career in like manufacturing jobs and warehouses, realizing that's not what I wanted to do. Eventually sought out going to Roberto Venn School of Luthery, and for obviously a ton of people, that's the kickstart, that's the foot in the door into the industry. Roberto Venn is about 6 months in class, and then I believe it's 960 class hours, so it really shakes out to about the same as a 2-year degree, but they really condense it into 9-10 hour days. So it's fast and hard, and then you're done pretty quick. Started out rain song guitars for a very small amount of time. Rain song was just general manufacturing, so buffing out bodies, cutting sound holes, gluing on bridges, tops and backs, things like that. They're graphite guitars, and then that wasn't really my jam. Basically, while I was there was when Mike Lull, Custom Guitars, called and said they wanted to bring me on. So I ended up staying there for 7 years. In 2020, obviously, Mike passed away, and then we had COVID, and things were really changing and moving. Mike and Mike's called and said they were looking for a different type of role, someone to run their repair shop. They were expanding their repair shop into another building, and it really seemed like an opportunity that I wasn't necessarily going to get at Mike Lull's, was to be able to manage people and kind of grow on a people skills side of the career. The guys at Mike and Mike's are really great people. It was an absolute pleasure to be there and work with them. Ben and Mike, the owners, are far and away some of the kindest people I've ever met, and they have great luthiers and everything. And when I was there, my wife and I had our firstborn, and living in Everett, being from around here, the commute just got to be too much, and then ventured out on my own. As I was leaving, they didn't necessarily have techs or time to do large-scale repairs, neck resets, refrets, things like that. So I was still doing work for them at that point. The idea at first being that I wanted to, transition down to kind of part-time and do 15-20 hours a week while watching my daughter. So I was doing that, but then within about 6 months of that, I realized I was just too busy already. It's really hard to stay lean when people know you're around. Spent another probably 5 or 6 months actually looking for a space when this one popped up, and moved into here, and it's been just great ever since. This is our estimate area, showroom where you can test out in-stock Riley guitars, kind of build a foundation of what you might like or dislike about them, and really get into what you might want to do in a custom build. Of course, all the in-stock guitars are always for sale as well, and I like to keep a rotating selection of about 8 to 10 guitars in stock at all times to just really give people a variety. Coming back here, we have our repair area, so full benches, personal computer, everything that you need, amps, and various states of repair for different guitars. Buffing wheels, buffing area, kind of staging area for in process custom guitars and builds, parts, things like that. Guitar storage, everything that comes in for repair gets locked behind a second locked door at night. And then cases for custom builds and things like that, that's mostly just storage. We have our flame cab with our harsh chemicals. It's just a regular cab for supplies, tapes, copper foil, pick guard material, anything that you might need in that regard. And tool room back here. So we got a thickness sander, drill press, router table, belt sander, bandsaw, some more sanders, hand router, things like that in the material. So we try to keep all the dust contained in this one room as much as possible. Any heavy woodworking gets done here, just to try and keep the shop clean. All of a sudden you have to be an accountant and a social media expert and a bookkeeper and all the things that come with running a business. Those things come pretty fast and hard, but other than that, the work itself can be done relatively easy.
What would you say your kind of philosophy is behind how it is you build things and why it is you build what you build?
Well, yeah, so kind of two things take precedence there. One is I definitely always build from a repair standpoint. I've worked on tens of thousands of guitars at this point, and so knowing what I have to fix a lot and what I don't like to see out of certain manufacturers and things like that, are basically the philosophy of trying to correct things. And the other thing is, I would much rather build a simple guitar that's bulletproof than try and go crazy and build something out of the box. I don't like necessarily reinventing the wheel. More of a modern comfort with a classic feel to them is really kind of what I strive for. I know that there's a right or wrong way to do it. There's certainly a lot of people who love showy instruments, and I don't think they're wrong for that necessarily, but my flavor has always been, I want to make something that just works. I want real musicians to be able to play them. I don't want them to be unobtainium for people. I try to price them in a range that, is obviously not what people would call cheap, but if there is somebody who really absolutely wants one, it's not going to be a pipe dream that they could ever buy it. I love doing challenging repairs. The most exciting things for me are the repairs that other shops have said no to. Ultimately, I do still really look up to guys like Mike Lull, who, spent his life growing a repair shop and a community of luthiers. Mm-hmm. The idea, I enjoy mentoring. I enjoy teaching and explaining things and just being a part of a group where everybody can bounce ideas off of each other. It's always my opinion that there's enough work to go around. You don't, in this industry, you're really wasting time trying to bad talk other shops or safeguard your secrets. It's really a fool's errand to do things like that. So I really want to foster a good luthier community where everybody wants to help each other grow. Rising tide carries all boats. But it's hard to really instill how much grinding your teeth in a good shop is really important for making sure that you know what you're doing. Know how to do a refret till you've done 100 refrets. Making a good bone nut is one of the most elusive tasks for any luthier, and you have to do hundreds of them to really figure it out and be able to replicate it quickly. You don't really get there by accident. So what excites me is helping like-minded people continue to grow their craft.